So I made a couple of videos talking about fairness and how it's not fair for the people paying into the taxpayer system to not benefit from the things they're paying for, and other people who don't pay in, they get to benefit. And a lot of people will think, well, you're kind of anti-immigrant there. You're a little bit of racist. That's what some doctors in the UK said. And no, not at all. In fact, I'm going to show you a case where even people that are citizens, they also take advantage from the system. And if you don't call them out, it can cause a lot of problems for the people who do pay into. So I want to look first at the United States. We're talking about a patient weighing 800 pounds. So it's not a person that's chubby. It's not a person that's fluffy. We're talking about an individual who is so overweight that clearly he has health conditions. He had to go to the hospital, and he also has a problem by not being able to walk around properly. So he now orders a pizza at the hospital, and the doctors kick him out. And I want to say that that's exactly what would have happened in my country if you would have done that. I have seen patients which come into the hospital with liver cirrhosis, and the doctors find them with a bottle of booze or alcohol underneath the bed, and usually the doctor just signs the discharge papers. It might seem cold, it might seem harsh, but the mentality is that the hospital's resources are finite. All right, Jesus Christ doesn't work as chief of staff, so you can't just heal people miraculously. No, there are a finite number of resources, a finite number of doctors, and they want to prioritize the people who actually want help and the people that actually want to improve, rather than the people who don't care about their improvement. And this is what I consider to be fairness, right? You wouldn't want your mother getting a heart attack and taking her to a hospital and you find out that there's no more beds. And this is really highlighted when it comes to organ transplants. Like, for example, if you need a liver transplant, at least in my country, one of the conditions is that you stop drinking. You need to prove to the committee that you're not drinking anymore, because the number of organs is finite. There's a long waiting list, and they want to make sure that the people that get the transplant don't waste it. Okay? So this is what happens in normality. This is how usually medicine is being done. If you see someone that is going to the hospital in order to take advantage of the system, or he really doesn't care, usually the doctors just sign the discharge papers. Now let's talk about the UK. Now, when I read this article last year, I was very shocked to see it. And I have a lot of friends who finished med school and are now working in the UK, and I showed them the article, and they weren't surprised at all. They said that while this article is a little bit over the top, they have seen similar cases quite often. All right? And it's not with immigrants, it's not with people coming out of the system. No, it's with actual British citizens that are taking advantage of the legislation there. And in fact, everything that's free on this world, pretty much everything that's free, you will find some people who take advantage of it because it's free. So it's really important when you try to give free stuff, quote unquote, that you make sure that the law is made in such a way to crack down on every possible way that people can take advantage of it. And we don't see that in the UK. So we have a patient, right, an obese lad, the Daily Star is calling it, weighing 55 stone, takes up 4 NHS beds, and orders pizza to hospital ward. And unlike in America, unlike in my country, and unlike probably everywhere around the world, they can't kick him out. They can't kick him out because the legislation there actually allows him to use this hospital for this reason. And there's probably homeless people out there. There's probably people that are sick who would need those beds, but they can't get the beds because a guy is occupying not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 hospital beds. And the audacity doesn't end here. Apparently, he gets £300 employment support allowance, which he uses it on takeaways that he orders from the hospital beds. So he orders like Chinese food and, like unhealthy food from this money in order to, I guess, not have to eat the hospital food, which according to him tastes really bad. Now, he assaulted people in the care home where he was initially set up in. and he could not attend his court hearing where he was convicted of common assault as there were no ambulances big enough to take him to the court hearing. This is what we're talking about. So this guy is definitely having some health issues, but refuses treatment by constantly ordering takeaways. And you might think, well, this guy is clearly a leftist, he's a socialist. No, he's far right. He doesn't like immigrants either. And it kind of makes sense, you know, like if you live off free shit, if you live off the taxpayer dime, you don't want other people to live off the taxpayer dime because then there's less for you. So I kind of understand, you know, I sympathize with this point of view, even though I wouldn't do it. But what's really interesting about it is that the staff, all right, even though they are apparently frustrated and they say it's at their wits' end, they are still treating him because they are compassionate and it's part of their job. No, that's not your job, all right? Like, because of this, other people aren't getting treatment. Like, taxpayer money is being wasted on a person who obviously does not want the help, and he's taking advantage of the system. And it's even in the same article saying he is taking up much needed bed space that is supposed to be for ill patients. The situation is madness. And again, like my friends who work in Britain, they told me that this is not an isolated example. I mean, it's just really severe that he's taking not one but 4 hospital beds. But there are plenty of people who actually use the hospital as a hotel room over there. They go in there and they just take advantage of the taxpayer money. So this should be discussed. Like, there should be some form of conversation about it, because look, if you're in Britain, you don't know how lucky you are, all right? Because your health system is far better than the one in my country. And I'm trying to warn you from Eastern Europe that you do not want the situation to become like it is in my country, all right? And you still have the time to try and fix it. And the way of fixing it is to make sure that you don't allow people to take advantage of the limited resources that the hospital has. Because once you start going into minus, once you start going into collapse, you're going to have doctors leaving your nation, going to other places like, I don't know, the US, Canada, or other places where the doctors can be paid and they're not overworked. And it causes a snowball effect. It goes into this circular pattern where the doctors who stay now have to do more work and are paid even less, and they want to leave, and so on and so forth. So, you know, like, again, like, this should definitely be a national debate regarding this. But you're not going to see it. Like, you're not going to see The Guardian or the BBC or, you know, like other British news outlets, like, even raising the problem or the concern that, yeah, some people take advantage of the system, you know, and it doesn't matter about race or skin color or anything like that. No, like, if people can take advantage, some of them will take advantage. Do let me know what you think. Looking forward to reading from you guys in the comment section.